Hi, you're very welcome to this, my Friday Excel snacks. I had intended to be Thursday, but that's what happens when you don't read the calendar correctly. Okay, memo to self, make sure you know what day of the week it is. And I'm just going to begin with kind of an overview of what we're going to cover in this 30 minutes. If it's been, if you're watching on the recording, feel free to drop me any notes. If you have any questions or anything else, I'm always happy to answer or help in any way that I can. Okay, lovely stuff. Hi, Dimpna, you're welcome. There you go.
Hi, Anne. How are you?
I'm good, not a bother. All right, let me just check my screen here now. Okay. Okay, so this is one of these kind of sessions that I pretty much run maybe not maybe once, maybe at least once a quarter, often once a month. Usually do them on a Thursday or Friday, and I do 30 minutes. I call them 30 minutes of Excel goodness. And the topic I've picked today is thing about AI. Okay. So the plan for what I want to cover in this 30 minutes, and if I get all this done, I'll be amazed at myself, is I want to say, okay, how AI can help you or how AI can help you with Excel. So the topics I've picked would be number one, how do you explain a formula? I deal with data. The second one I have is that I have a data set. How would you extract insights out of your data? Hi, Aoife, you're welcome as well. Right. And if we have time, something about creating a learning plan for me as well. And I'm going to be using two AI tools. I'm well aware of the fact that there's plenty other ones. There's, Claude and Perplexity and Gemini and all the rest of them, and the infamous Grok. But the ones I've picked are just these two because they're probably the ones used most often, ChatGPT and Copilot. And in the demos, both versions are the paid versions, just to be aware of that, because your functionality will be a bit different. Recordings, files, etc., will be sent after the session. Realistically, it's going to be next week, all right, probably Monday or Tuesday, before they've been sent to you. And if for some reason you don't receive them, please contact either myself or Zita about it, and we will get them to you. We will sort that out. But just check maybe your junk folder as well. All right. Now, just a little bit about me. All right. For those of you who do not know me, some of you do know me, some of you don't. I'm also known as the Excel Lady. That's the name other people gave me, not the name I gave myself. I live in the west of Ireland, where today there is snow on the hills and it's a blue sky. And I have a website called excellady.com, and I'm a freelance Excel Power BI trainer. This is what I do. And I've also written books on Excel, your Excel Survival Kit, your Guide to Surviving and Thriving in an Excel World. My latest two books, Hate Excel, Learn to Love the Software That Can Transform Your Confidence and Career. And they were both Amazon bestsellers. And they're still kind of lingering somewhere in the Excel category. So fairly niche-y, niche. Okay. I've got 8 books at a place called Bookboon. They're all short books, and hopefully a lot of them are going to be repurposed in 2026. Okay. And I love movies, and I love puns, and I love crime fiction. All right. I love those things. And married a long time, and we have one son, and he's a software engineer. And if you'd like to connect me on LinkedIn, if you're not connected already, please do so. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about the cost of it first. Okay. The free version, but you need to register, and it's been described as good for general questions, simple tasks, and casual use. And the other one is the turbo version, which is about $20 a month, maybe roughly around €20 when you factor in that. And that's the one that we're going to be using as well. Now, the chances are whoever's watching the recording, you might find that there's been another upgrade on it because this changes so fast. All right. If you have background noise when you are, if you just put yourself on, I was going to say put yourself on turbo. I was going to say put yourself on mute so you have a clean recording. That would be amazing. Okay. Copilot, which is the one for Microsoft. This has basic functionality such as text suggestions, etc. And then you also have the paid version, which is about €22 a month, roughly. All right. And if you had to pick, okay, I would say go for ChatGPT, because Copilot, in my opinion, is not there yet. Okay, it's still a bit weird and a bit, right? Now, when you're dealing with kind of AI, that kind of thing, I mean, some of the things you need to think of that you need to think of it like a newbie that you have to explain everything to. You may have to ask it to tweak its response several times, particularly when you do something for the first time. all right, and it'll offer prompts to you as well. It's very good. It is prone to hallucinations, confident wrong answers. My favorite example is the one from Mr. Excel, who asked one of the AI tools, how does Excel calculate prime numbers? And they said, use a function called isPrime, which is fine, except there is no such function. All right. So, at this point, you need to know enough to be able to verify the answer. Okay. And that is an ongoing thing. AI is an assistant, it's not a substitute. Okay. You still need to know how to do the basics. You need to know enough to be able to check it. Okay. Confidential files only really with Copilot Pro. I know kind of Chat GPT is kind of putting more confident stuff into it, but still, it's with Copilot, and if it's the bought version, it's in what they call the enterprise settings. So it means you have more confidentiality, safety with your documents. If you're using Copilot Pro, your data must be uploaded to OneDrive. It needs to be formatted as a table, and autosave must be on. Those are the three things you need if you're going to use, let's say, Copilot with it. Okay, let me just see a second now. And my PowerPoint has decided that it's not going to play anymore, so I'm just going to stop the share for a second. There we go. Lovely. You got to love a bit of technology, really, Right. Okay, lovely. All right. So one of the things that I think is a good structure for this, okay, is the things recommended by Microsoft as a prompt structure. So this is what I call, I call it the GCSE, all right, because I think that's the way to remember it. But it's usually structured as goal, context, expectations, and source. So a goal is, what do you want from Copilot? The context is, why do you need it and who is involved? Expectations, how should Copilot respond to your request? And source, what information do you want me to use? Now, the chances are you won't be using all of those in every prompt, but I think it gives you like a really good structure to do that. Okay. So let's see what that looks like with an example. Okay. So let's say, for example, um, this is the thing I'm going to describe is not uncommon. You go into a new job or a new role and you inherit a spreadsheet, right? Now, the other person might have left the country, they might have left the job. Let's say you don't have access to them and you get a formula and you're kind of thinking, I do not know what this formula is supposed to do. So what you could do with AI is you could say, I want an explanation of this formula so I can understand what it's doing and how to replicate it. The context would be, you're basically kind of setting the thing for it. I'm an Excel newbie and I've inherited a file with this formula and I need to understand what it's doing. Okay. Expectations, I want an explanation of this formula so I understand what it's doing and replicate it. I also have some tips around troubleshooting as it doesn't work as I expect. Okay. So that's kind of another one, just say, how do you want to actually get it? You might just say, I want step-by-step instructions on it as well. And the source would be, please use this formula. Now you might use a file. We're going to kind of use a formula and we're going to kind of use Chat GPT for both of these as well. So let's just see what this looks like in practice. Okay. All right. All right, let me just share my screen here again. Now, if you have any questions at any point, just pop them into the chat. All right, you're more than welcome to any point. Okay, so this is the file. This is the file, the sample file that I'm kind of going to give you here. Okay, so what I have here is I have a thing called a nested if function. All right, so you can see it up there at the top. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I have a prompt one I prepared earlier. Okay, and I'm going to try the prompt both with Copilot and also with ChatGPT. Okay, so let me just, here we go to this one. And let me just share my screen here now. Okay, so I come up here to home, and then I'm going to go across here to Copilot. Opens up Copilot. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste my prompt into message this one. Of this formula. Okay, so I put in here, and I'm just going to go and let's see what it does. Now, the thing I'll say to you about Copilot is that if you want it to do something like sorting, filtering, and all the rest, it takes it just as long to do sorting, filtering as it does to do something more complicated, just so you know that. And the other thing you need to be aware of, and this is why you need to know a little bit about what you're looking for, is that you can give it the same prompt twice and it won't give you exactly the same answer. So over here, this is the formula, and it explains what it does in plain English, and it checks conditions in order from top to bottom. And if it's true, return X. If not, try the next one. I think that's quite a good explanation. And it says what this particular formula is doing, and it gives you these ones here. This is grading. See there, it gives you another example here, and the order matters. And they mention a good point there, which is it stops at the first true condition. Okay, so that's an important point. And also check your absolute references and your thresholds are stored. Okay. Okay. So actually there's quite some that's actually quite a good explanation. Okay. All right. And they also mention that thing about the no default. Okay. Now let's see if we try the same thing with ChatGPT. Because I was kind of experimenting with these earlier today, and it was interesting to see. All right, and let me just do the same thing again. Let me just share my screen. Yeah, okay. So just it's like it mentions the top to bottom thing, which is really well. And I like this one about how it says how to read this formula like human, and the order matters, and what the dollar signs are doing. Yeah, and see there, like for example, it gives like a thing about the copy code there as well, and ifs as well. So one of the things I like about this, I think the Chat GPT response to this particular formula, even though it's a Excel formula, is more thorough and gives you more, right? That's just, so that would be one of the ways I would suggest maybe looking at a formula. Now, anybody got any questions or comments on that? Okay, if you do, just pop it into the chat as always. All right, and let me share my screen here now. Okay, now I've also, so when you get the file, see the formula is here. See that it says explain this formula. So you could actually use the formula from here. And I've also put a complex formula in here in number 2 as well. Okay, so if you wanted to kind of try out another kind of slightly complex formula, this could be another option for you to play with. Now, the second thing I want to look at here, just stop the share for a second, is if you want to use AI to help you with a data set. Okay. Let's go to this one. Okay. So another option you might have is that let's say you have a data set, okay? And you need to kind of be able to extract insights out of it, whatever they might be. I'm going to suggest kind of a couple of strategies here. The one, and I think this is very underutilized in Excel, there's a thing called Home Analyze Data. We're going to look at that now. Okay. But please note, it doesn't work well. In fact, basically, the wheels fall off the wagon if there's more than 100,000 records. That should be just 100,000 records in your data set. Okay. The second option is to use Copilot. So use the prompt, which I'm going to copy and paste into it. Now, I'll include the prompt in the data that's sent to you. So again, if you want to play with it. Now, the other thing I would say to you about the Copilot, about using Copilot with the data set is what I've observed is that, like, I tried it with this data set I'm going to share with you in a minute. And it was like, it was looking for love in all the wrong places as we come up to Valentine's weekend. Whereas I kind of found that when it did you put your data set into a standalone file, it just seems to work better. That's how it is at the moment anyway. And you probably still have to tidy up the results. Okay, so you're still going to have to tidy up the results either way, as you know, and I'll show you the output when we get it. Okay. Let me just share my screen here again. Okay. So the file, the data set I'm using is questionnaire responses down there. Now, as an aside, the one thing that I have noticed with where Copilot is very good is that if you have to clean up a data set, like, you know, if you need to remove unwanted rows and columns and unmerged cells and all that it's actually pretty good for that. Now, you still need to check it. I wrote a blog post about this yesterday, you know, in which I'd done a cleanup on a file, and then my pivot tables weren't working. I was saying, like, why? And it was because the dates I'd brought in, they looked fine, you know, but they were actually being brought in as text, not numbers, so they wouldn't work properly. Okay. So up here then, I'm going to come up here to data. So this has been, you know, the Copilot thing, autosave is on, format as a table, and yeah, I've gone now completely blank on the other one, but I'm sure I'll think of it. Okay, data. And then I come over here then, oh yes, it needs to be saved to the cloud as well. Over to this one, and I go to analyze data. Okay. Now this data has been generated by AI. One of the things that it's useful for, so I just go to analyze data. Okay. Now what it does is that it generates a load of insights. Okay. So it gives you actually quite a bit. And I kind of like this analyze data. I think it's very underutilized. So I could say favorite workshop, and use the headings from the data. Favorite workshop by rating. Okay, let me see if it does that for me now. Yeah, see there? And then I can go insert pivot table. So that's a feature that I think is people are often not aware of, the analyze data feature. It is, you know, it is just really handy. The other one you could do then is we're going to look at the Copilot one. Okay, so let me just go back to my prompts again. Share my screen. Now, I'm going to kind of run, I'm going to run a kind of a prompt on my Copilot on this data set here, but I've actually put the data set into a separate file, okay? Because even though I said only use the data, when I was running this before, even though I said only use the data from, you know, number 2 questionnaire responses, it still went looking somewhere else altogether, which I kind of was thinking, well, why are you looking there? So I thought, okay, let's take that out of the equation and put it in here. So I come up here again to home, I go to Copilot, and I put this one, and I'm going to put a thing in here, Control V. Right? So what I've put into the prompt is that I'm a mid-level event manager and I need to get the following from this data set. So I've kind of set a goal and I've also given it a context. Okay. And I need to know the top 3 favorite workshops, accompanied with some supporting comments, top 3 complaints, accompanied with some supporting comments, an overall profile of the ratings for question 1, question 2, question 3, and I need their data presented in a chart format so I can easily transfer to PowerPoint and update easily. And I want the data in an Excel file. Okay. Now I ran this earlier and it was interesting. Leave it like that. So let's see what it gives me now after lunch. Now, the other thing too to say to you is that sometimes when you run Copilot, it looks as though it has done the work, but the link that it gives you won't be live. So sometimes you actually have to go and do it another couple of times. All right, so let's see if it now gives me here. And it's going to put it into a separate file as well. The other thing too, which I kind of find a bit irritating, is that there's a new feature in Excel called Python, which is kind of like a software tool. And I find that it tends to rely heavily on that, which I think is a bit, not great for an Excel option to be, okay, here we go. What I've delivered, data, original responses, summaries, ready to use table. Okay, let's download this and see what it gives us. And then it gives us headline insights as well. So they could probably be transferred in easy enough into your PowerPoint. But let's see what it does here now. Okay, so table editing. So there's the data and there's the summaries. So the summaries are there. And then I go to the charts. Now, when I was looking at these charts, I don't think the charts are great, to be honest with you. If I was doing it, I probably would end up maybe jigging these charts a little bit. Top 3 complaints. All right, I still have to do that, and maybe the profile one then as well. The only thing though is that I did specify particularly to put this into Excel, because I know when I've done it before, it's given me a load of charts in Python that I'm not able to update. All right, which I found kind of annoying. So those are the charts. So I probably have to do them again, but probably at the same time, it's like, having an assistant and so on. All right, start the share for a second. Right, now what we might do is just see, try this here now. Okay, what I might do now is just see what that looks like in ChatGPT. Okay, we go see now for a second. And I'm just going to upload that file. Now, I'm uploading the file because there's nothing confidential in it. But if you're doing it with, this is where you need to be careful about anything that's kind of, confidential or whatever. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what I've done is I've uploaded the file, all right, and I have put my same prompt into ChatGPT, and let's see what it gives us. Oh, let's see now what it gives us here. Top 3 favorite workshops. Yeah, see, I like there as well. That gives me the instructions on how to put it into that one. All right, now let's see what it's given us. Okay. All right, so it hasn't included the data. It's given us the chart. It's kind of given us a rating profile as well. So probably not an awful lot better than Copilot. And it didn't include the original data either, but then it probably wouldn't for that one. Okay. But again, it probably would save you the work on it. Right. Now, any comments from anyone at this stage? Any questions or comments? Okay, as always, if you want to pop them in the chat. So just the last thing we're just going to do, all right, is I'm going to put a prompt in about creating a learning plan, and I'm just going to pop it into Copilot. And let's see what it does now. Okay, so for example, again, I tried to put myself in the shoes of somebody. They might be new to Excel. They've just started a job with a lot of Excel sheets. Can you please generate a program for me which covers the main topics I should know? Ideally, I would like to have some exercise to go with it and some guidance about how to approach learning Excel. Now, even as I've written that, I think I probably would refine that prompt to say, please give me step-by-step instructions and maybe ways to get feedback. Okay, so it says nice things to me first. Okay, that's a good one. Learn just enough, then practice immediately. Reuse work examples, finds out, expect confusion. Okay. Practice it there. Entering text properly. Yep, that one. Simple formulas, essential functions, working with lists. I probably wouldn't do XLOOKUP, VLOOKUP at the beginner, but I also understand why it's important. Charts and information checking and checking data and how to practice each week. All right, so you see then at the bottom, it gives you, turn this into printable checklists and create practice files for each week or adapt it to your job. So I actually think that's actually quite a good solid plan. Right. Hi, Anita, you're welcome. Lovely. Okay, now, so lovely people, we've got about 2 minutes left. Okay, so I'm just going to run a very quick word cloud thing on this first. All right, let me pop it into the chat. Okay. All right, so if you want to just try this, I'm also just going to share a screen as well. I'm going to use a QR code. And want to just do that now? So like, this is just kind of thing, just maybe just on your thoughts or takeaways and so on. And then I would share it. And let me just, this one, yeah. Share my screen. Yeah, the data analysis thing, like that is so handy and people never know about it. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, lovely people. I like, if you know me, I like to kind of stay on time as much as possible. All right, I'm just going to stop the share for a second. See if has anybody got any questions or comments before we wrap it up?
No, just to say thank you.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
thanks
You're very
very
welcome.
much, Anne.
Very
It's
welcome.
good. 30 minutes is just enough rather
Yeah.
than having loads of information. So it was
It is,
really,
yeah.
really
That's why I call it
focused.
snack. That's why I call it a
Yeah,
snack. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So Zita will get the recordings and all the other stuff out to you early next week. And if you don't get it for whatever reason, just drop me a note. All right. Okay, lovely people. Have a good rest of the day and mind yourselves and take
Thanks so
care.
much.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Anne. See
Say
you.
Thank you.
bye.
Bye
You're
bye.
welcome. Bye.